Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Challengers of the New World Season 1. This is game number 5 in a best of 15 series between Aizamk and Umeu, where every vanilla civilization has to be played. There are 8 different vanilla civilizations, the original 8, and this is a best of 15, which by definition is first to 8 wins. Therefore, the rules of this event are that each player must defeat their opponent once with each different vanilla civilization. You'll see on screen all the civilizations that they have available. The ones they've won games with are ticked off. They can no longer use these civilizations. They don't really have any need to anyway, since you only need 1 win with each one. But yes, once they've ticked them all off, they will therefore have acquired 1 win with each different civilization and will win this event. And they will also win $20 courtesy of myself. And they will also win the rights to compete in Challengers of the New World Season 2, where I'll find another opponent and we will have another cash prize. And there we have it. So, Aizamk in the south of the map, in the colour blue today, in the British. That is the civilization he is playing, laying down 2 manor houses here and still has some settlers on wood there. Clearly going for either a 3rd manor house for, of course, an extra settler, or perhaps that early market. He does, of course, have this 30 coin treasure over here, which he has not actually collected. His explorer seems to have completely ignored that treasure and, in fact, done a strange route around the map with regards to scouting. Here we see Umeu coming across a 165 coin treasure. His opponent there picking that up. You can see the treasure already broken and decaying down. But Umeu definitely picking up a nice treasure. Let's switch over to him. Here he is in the north of the map, in the colour red, playing as the French, going for that early market there. That coin, definitely very useful for getting the hunting dogs in queue. I imagine all he would have needed to do was collect a bit of extra wood, really, and that would be it. And then he can get these settlers back onto food ASAP, and he can age up pretty quick, sending his 3 settlers now. But yes, market, a house, both of which cost 100 wood, and hunting dogs. So that's 250 wood at the beginning of the game. He would have, I imagine, start with 200 wood, though, because his opponent started with 300 wood, and British have a crate rotation. Let's not go into crate rotations, but I can tell that this would have started with 200 wood for this player here. He's going over here in this side of the map for 60 wood treasure. Not too bad at all. Plenty of pretty decent treasures here, especially since Aizamk has not found anything except a 55 coin treasure. That is pretty okay. Let's switch back to Aizamk, though. He is going to opt for the 3rd manor. He is not, of course, going to go for that market. He can always get his market a bit later on in transition. So there is that. But yes, the British. An interesting civilization choice. Of course, Aizamk lost his previous game. Therefore, he has a civilization advantage this game. Let's switch over to Umeu, and I'll explain exactly why he has a civilization advantage. But here we have Umeu already going up to the next stage on 13 settlers right there. Normally, your French player will go up with 14 settlers because the difference between going up with 13 and 14 is usually about 5 seconds quicker if you go up with 13 settlers. And that is because, well, you should have about 650 food by the time you get your 13th settler created if you're collecting food optimally and all of that jazz. But if you go up with 14, you'll have about 850 food. And, you know, if you're going to wait, you might as well just put, when you're on 13 settlers, you might as well just put another settler in queue and let that train. And there is that. But choosing not to go up with the 13, going to go up with 13 here. And I imagine what he would have done is collected up from the cows, which provide a very fast food source. There we are. Got my letters mixed up there, but certainly this is going to make him far more aggressive since he can get up, you know, well, normally a settler takes 25 seconds to train, but these are Carrera de Bois, so they take even longer, say 35 seconds. I'm not exactly how sure it does take for one of these to train, but it's certainly going to be up a whole, the time it would take to send a shipment, I would say, about 30 seconds quicker, and that means he'll get that first shipment out, whatever it is, and he can be more aggressive, and perhaps that's what he's going to do. This map is very, very small. You see, he's got 2 hunts here, pretty nice, but his opponent not too far away. You can see this really isn't that far away. His opponent's hunts are really nearby. This is such a small map, and what I'm going to do now is turn the graphics on. I've just realised they're extremely low. Normally, how about we turn them all up and I show off the graphical fidelity of Age of Empires 3? That's something I don't do very often, and it is because it's nothing to do with my computer. I've tested this time and time again with many, many people. It's just the higher your graphics settings, the slower the game plays back when you're doing a recorded game. You see this timer in the top right, 412, 413, it looks pretty normal. It looks like it's in sync with real time, but It might be right now, but when the battle starts to get going, when there's lots of units on the field, it really won't. So you can see an absolutely huge improvement to the graphics here, and especially when there's water, but there is no water on this map. It is painted desert. So, Umeu, 3 cavalry is his first shipment, almost half here, and Aizamk is not even aged up. This is going to be a very aggressive start, and he's starting with a stable as well. This is very interesting. It's usually okay to start with cavalry, since, of course, well, British, not that aggressive early game. They like to build lots of manners, they like to boom, they'll get a few units out, but they're not going to come over to your base and really harass you very much, especially since if you're playing French, well, you've got Carrera de Bois, which have so many hit points in attack. They're just really strong, and rushes are really difficult to pull off versus French for that reason. But these going to be, you know, super aggressive with these cavalry. What do I see here? 2 barracks going up from Aizamk. Let's switch over to him there. 700 food on the way. That is a very strange shipment indeed. Not a very good shipment at all. Food is the fastest gathering resource in Age of Empires 3. Wood, however, is the slowest. So, you know, you want to send the slowest gathering resource. It's always more efficient to do so because you get the same amount, right? 700 wood, 700 food. Food, not a great resource here, and choosing to play aggro with this British, of course, this food is going to be able to get him to train lots of musketeers at that barracks. This is what he's going to fund the musketeer production from, and in this particular case, since his opponent is starting cavalry, this is going to be very strong, I would imagine. All Umeu has to defend against these musketeers are a bunch of hussars. Normally, it's okay to start with a stable here, because Umeu, right, he'd send his 700 wood as his very first shipment. He'd build that stable. As soon as the 700 wood arrives, you'd lay down your barracks, but since he did not send 700 wood, instead he sent these 3 hussars, which he's doing a fairly good job of raiding with here. Of course, forcing his opponent's settlers into the town centre. Probably not going to get many kills, since Aizamk is, you know, he's got a very high CPM. He can, sorry, APM. CPM. Never mind. And these 2 cavalry coming in, perhaps going to be able to kill a settler here on the coin mine. These 2 cavalry taking a lot of damage. This settler going down to very low hit points. It looks like he's going to get it there. Going to go down. Is he going to get the other one? No. Both very low hit points, and both cavalry go down at the same time there. But all of these settlers have been idled, and this isn't too good for Aizamk, since of course the resource is not coming in. He needs to get the aggro out. These musketeers are idle, and I believe all he's done is, yeah, siege down this market here. He's giving Umeu a lot of time to really get on his feet. Umeu is at a very big disadvantage because that 700 wood is only just about to arrive. He needed that when the 3 hussars arrived. The 3 hussars were his first shipment, allowed him to be very aggressive with raiding, but not allowing him to get a barracks out. He's only now going to be able to get a barracks out, and he's had enough time, I think. If Aizamk could come in sooner, perhaps with these musketeers, look, all he's doing is sieging down a market. Umeu does not need his market. He does not care about the market. If Aizamk came in and perhaps tried to take down the stable, or you know, maybe that's a bit dangerous. Take down perhaps the houses on the you know, the buildings on the peripheral, I suppose, like the market, but at the same time the market isn't that worthwhile. Maybe just sit here and shoot the settlers, stop him gathering food. Because if your opponent only has cavalry to defend against musketeers, they're not in a good spot, especially since he sent 3 hussars first. So that is my only criticism for Aizamk there. But you see, 700 wood arriving from Aizamk now. Of course, he's going to mix in the manor house. He's going to boom afterwards. A very Aizamk style build. Start aggressive, boom later. Now coming in with pikemen, a very interesting choice indeed. Certainly a pretty good unit for sieging down the buildings, and that appears to be exactly what he's going to do. Quickly bring down this house here. But ultimately, I don't think it's a hugely great unit, but who am I to tell Aizamk what to do? He's a very, very strange player indeed here. He's going to be able to take down a lot of buildings, because at this point in time, all he has is cavalry. My only concern, though, is when the crossbowmen, or sorry, the musketeers pop out of the barracks here, and he starts to mass up some infantry. The pikemen really won't be that useful. They've got nothing to protect. There's no longbowmen on the field for Aizamk yet. Perhaps he intends to add in longbowmen, but even if he does intend to add in longbowmen, he's already got a nice mass of musketeers there, which he can use to defend the longbowmen with, and there's no cannons for a British player when they're in Age 2. There's nothing really for these pikemen to do. Like, all they're really good against is cavalry and buildings, and he's already got musketeers to defend units with, so I think maybe training longbowmen with the resources he spent on these pikemen might have been more solid here, but killing some settlers down here, these 3 hussars, you might have heard the attack horn going off constantly. I think Umeu doing a very good job. The only thing he can do to defend himself at this point in time with cavalry really is just raid his opponent, force his opponent off resources, because what a cavalry really going to do against musketeers and now pikemen? We see Aizamk adding in some longbowmen here. I think his mass definitely smaller than than it normally would be, and that is because Umeu doing a very good job of keeping his his opponent's settlers. You can see here they're not even working right now. He's constantly forcing Aizamk's settlers into the town centre, really making him have to work to get the resources in, not letting him gather resources, not letting him mass up safely here. 8 crossbowmen have popped out. We'll switch over to Umeu and see what shipments he sent. 8 crossbowmen, I suspected it was, and it is. 8 crossbowmen have just arrived to push this back, perhaps feeling a little bit pressured. These pikemen here in stagger mode, taking less damage from the ranged attacks. I believe they were being used to kill off the 1 HP Minutemen, but, you know, they're really not adding that much here. They're just dying to the crossbowmen, which are now cheering alongside their musketeer friends that they have successfully repelled the British rush here. But yeah, I honestly think, you know, Aizamk had such a strong start, despite 700 food being such an inefficient shipment and really not that worthwhile. Being able to make that, you know, musketeers coming out that early on, you do not expect the aggression from British. British can be aggressive, like, they just don't want to be, because to make use of their bonus, they need to be sending 700 wood and collecting wood and building manor houses and that kind of thing. But, it's just, food is not a good shipment, especially since British want to send wood for that reason. But, you know, choosing to play aggressive here, and I think he had a very strong start since his opponent started with cavalry, and that at a 3 cavalry shipment. These longbowmen here, unfortunately popping out of that barracks there and being destroyed. Of course, and the rest of his army was out of position on the other side of the map, so that these longbowmen were not able to be protected by these other, you know, his massive military units here. And at this point in the game, Umeu has a much larger mass here. I think what Aizamk needed to do with those first batch of musketeers was really harass the settlers, stop Umeu from collecting resources, and ultimately stop him from massing up, of course, you know, units. He had a very strong start, considering he started musketeers and his opponent had cavalry, and if he capitalized perhaps on pushing down the stable. But then again, it is a bit dangerous, so you know, because Minutemen could pop out, that 8 crossbowman shipment could pop out with the Minutemen, and you could get caught by the cavalry. They'd really mow all your units down. So I appreciate perhaps Aizamk's hesitation there, but I think something more needed to be done. And as you can see at this point in the game, he has, you know, his opponent here, Umeu, has found these settlers, lots of settlers up in the north of the map here near this manor house. Looks like they are, you know, caught out of position, losing that many settlers, like 5 settlers there. That is the equivalent of basically a colonial age shipment, and at that, the best colonial age shipment, 5 settlers. If he loses these, really gonna get even further behind with regards to creating units here. And you can see Aizamk trying to force off these military units. The settlers trying to escape here, coming out to the left, gonna pass these bison here, but Red knows where they're going. He's gonna have to bring the settlers up around this rock, I think, but even then, how are they going to escape? Cavalry gonna pursue them, but they're gonna have to walk through those bison there. The bison are gonna cause some pathing issues. He could block the cavalry with his military units in this little hole here to prevent those hussars going forward. That looks like he is going to do that. They're not, you know, entirely blocked, but I think Umeu valuing the longbowman, free killing the longbowman, basically, using the attack move. They're going into hand combat with the longbowman, with the cavalry. They're going to kill those off, all the military units down, but definitely trying very hard indeed to protect these settlers here. We see lots of musketeers coming forward to try and kill the coureur de bois here. I don't think Umeu would notice, but more units coming out from Aizamk, perhaps to kind of protect these settlers. Going into hand combat, going to scare those cavalry away. Cavalry don't want to take 13 times 3 with the, you know, 13 damage times 3 against cavalry. They're going back into normal ranged mode, and they can try and retreat from this, but I think ultimately 10 musketeers is 1,000 resources. Bringing them forward might have been a mistake. Certainly he's managed to save some of the settlers, but only 2 of them, and at that 1.5, one of them is very low hit points there. And these musketeers are now kind of out of position. They're going to get caught by this very large mass of units here. These musketeers, I imagine, going to go into hand combat here to scare off the cavalry, but cavalry, yeah, they are going to be scared. No, coming back in, they are not scared of those musketeers. Not at all. There are just so many red units here that the 1,000 resources he just sent up into the north here. I mean, yes, he got a few settlers that were gathering at this bison here. Red was gathering with these settlers there, and he managed to save 2 of his own settlers, but ultimately losing 1,000 resources worth of units, and his mass getting further behind. He does not have enough military units, and now he cannot defend these barracks. Umeu is going to take these barracks down. He's in a very strong position at this point in the game. Let's switch over to Umeu and see exactly what he has got on the way. 700 coin on the floor there. Perhaps now thinking about going to the next age, I imagine he would be going to create these 5 musketeers there. He has a lot of people on food, 19 settlers on food, and only 3 on coin, but you have to remember this is a 500 huge coin, chest of coin on the floor there from the 700 coin shipment. I think he's preparing to go up to the fortress age, get those veteran units. At this point in time, the veteran upgrades will be very worthwhile because he does have, you know, a sizable amount of units here. These cavalry coming forwards, lots of settlers over here for Aizamk, really not too good at all. If these get caught out, then there is really no way Aizamk at this point is going to get back into the game. I think his only option here is to lay down a building in the middle of this gap here, choosing to do so. He lays down a wall there, but he's not going to be able to get it up. The wall was really the only option. You can't fit a market in between there to block the hussars, and even if you could put down a market, you have to actually build it a little bit, and if the cavalry is standing on the foundation, you're not going to get it up. Trying to save the settlers, really trying here, but why was he gathering at that coin mine? There's one right here, I really don't know. Bringing some cavalry forward to, you know, to repel Umeu, going to try and engage here. Umeu has a larger cavalry mass, is actually going to be scared away from this cavalry, doesn't want to engage, perhaps scared of Aizamk's micro there, he might win that, but actually being very cheeky indeed, just coming straight back as soon as these cavalry leave. Aizamk, go back, you need to defend your settlers there. Oh no, you just, oh, this is not too good. And now we see this very large, massive units just walk into his base. This is the result of not being able to mass up his units very well. I think the raiding early on definitely damaging his ability to actually get unit batches out. I think he had these musketeers early on. He needed to put the pressure on his opponent's settlers and production facilities, houses, not the market. The market was like the most worthless building he could have gone for. And I think that's why a lot of people put markets on the front. But you can see Umeu has so many more resources. At this point in the game, British should be quite far ahead economically. But 31 settlers for Umeu there. Let's bring out the calculator and do that multiplication. 31 times by 1.25 since they gather 25% more efficiently. 38.75 settlers. Let's compare that to Aizamk on 39, and you can see here that Aizamk has sent 700 wood, 600 wood, 5 settlers, 4 settlers. He's been really trying to get his economy going after that early aggression. I think really not doing much with the early aggression and sacrificing a lot of the boom early game, losing his units, you know, the cavalry making his mass go down, losing those 10 musketeers I was talking about earlier, and losing lots of settlers. And really, ultimately, his economy should be ahead since he sent all these shipments, and he's got to try and protect that economy. Trying to bring these settlers, the only thing he's trying to do is protect the settlers here. Oh, this doesn't look too good. You see, he's now sending Colonial Militia, which increases the town center's attack damage by 50%. And I have seen Aizamk win games just with that card when playing as British. But Umeu, definitely, you know, a smart guy. He's not going to walk into his opponent's base, siege down this tower, take double damage, and not realize he's taken, you know, an extra 50% damage on his units there. And you know, Aizamk could call those colonial militia. I think Umeu would notice that. But ultimately here, Aizamk realizing he is not going to be able to win this. You see here, his settlers are only collecting wood because there are no other resources he can collect. This coin mine is kind of close to his base. This, I suppose, he could collect coin, but with regards to food, where is he going to go? He has no map control. Umeu definitely has the entire map with the threat of his army. Going to force all of Aizamk's settlers off, and there's no way he's going to be able to collect any resources here. Definitely a wipe, almost. I think Aizamk, very, very good position at the start there. His opponent sending 3 cavalry and not being able to get the barracks up until the 700 wood arrived, which was, you know, after the 3 cavalry, and he had lots of musketeers out by that time. I think maybe if you stand in your opponent's base and realize, you know, there is a 700 wood shipment probably on the way at some point, if you stop those settlers gathering up that wood and just keep stopping them, you know, let's pretend this wood here is the 700 wood when it arrives. If you're standing here with your musketeers shooting the settlers, there's no way they can get that up. He'd have to call his minutemen to force you back. And, yeah, I think some stronger kind of pressure on settlers, more so than the market, might have made a difference in that game. But ultimately, we see Umeu taking the win here. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Thank you very much for watching. My name has been Interjection. If you enjoyed the video, remember to give it a like. I enjoy that. I appreciate that every single time. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you all again next time.